So I don't know how he managed that, but that's what happened. Luckily, he's not alone here. We have Dr. Goshuku Uba, who spent many years in the university and became a senator. And of course, he's now back to being an academic. So I will expect Dr. Uba to come to the table so that if we are going astray, you will tell us where we are. Unlike what you may expect, there was a comrade who was also a lecturer and who taught a lot at the University of Jos, a law teacher, and the law teacher became a minister, and now he's back to not being a law teacher and not being a minister. So he has to come and explain what happened. Comrade Solomon Dalum. So he will wear his academic gown this evening and come to the high table. The high table will be populated as more and more people come, but the idea of today requires that the Ondo Ekimogun Youth Congress should have someone on the high table, because what we are discussing is a community aspect. So when I see them, they will go to the high table. But the idea of an open university is what we are trying to hear, which means we have to have an open mind. And many of the traditional things we do, including the high table, we may end up discovering we don't even need the high table because it's an open system. The Afri Tower has come to town, and the town is now the Afri Tower. So it's all, the town and gown have merged into one. But I don't know much about this subject. In order not to take too much of your time this evening, I invite Professor Olugumiro Jegede. He's an orphan, so you have to give him a round of applause. He just lost his mother, so you have to have sympathy to that. Prof, thanks for coming at this time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The celebrant, one and only Prince, the chairman of the occasion, the distinguished senator, the honorable minister, other distinguished members here, the Ondo Community Youth Council, and all my colleagues from the various universities in and around Nigeria. So pleased to be here this evening, and I have a knack of sleeping when I'm talking, and I also have a knack of making people sleep. So if you find me sleeping, just wake me up. But if you're also sleeping, don't worry about it, because I'm not going to say anything that you haven't heard, and therefore you can just snore away. It's only your neighbor that will have a problem with your snoring. I have a few slides I'm going to go through, so if you don't mind, I'll just start this slide, and it's going to be here. I'm not too sure now whether we have to dismantle the high table or the high table has to come this way so that you could see some of the slides, but we'll turn it around. And I'll just go through. Yeah, thank you. Again, I like to oh, no. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, the title of my my conversation with you this evening is towards a skills-based, community-run open university. As we go along, some of the things associated with it will begin to unfold. And what I'm going to do is the brief introduction we've already started doing. I'll talk about education and development generally. I'll look at the need for and characteristics of open and distance learning, and I'll talk about the unmet education demand or met demand for education in Ondo and the reason why we are having this conversation. I will also talk about the need and the promise, and I look at the onset of skills in Ondo community. We already have it somewhere, and all we need to do is to panel beat it. Then we'll be looking at the future, the vision, and the 21st century, and the conclusion. I'm really pleased that we have all ages here, from probably age six months to whatever here, because that's what the open system is also meant for. And so it's for everybody. Indeed, it's more for the younger generation than even the older one, but everybody is involved. Please just leave the student. He's an open, just leave him to have fun. Don't control him. He should. Now, I'm really excited to be here today, and it is an honor to felicitate with our brother and our friend Prince Adewale Adebayo on his golden birthday year. You could see how very well regaled he is in the picture there. And so he, in one of our conversations, talked about wanting to raise education in Ondo community with a mark of excellence. And that's again what we are talking about now. But I have other ties with Ondo, really. I come from a community that's not too far away from here. I belong to the Anglican Communion, and some of you who will remember that Ondo diocese used to superintend over so many Anglican churches in all these areas, in almost 5, 6, 7 states that were, and in those days, I still remember that my late father used to come here for synod in those days, and when he come to spend the whole day talking to us about synod, and so I have a stake also here, and I have so many friends and colleagues from Ondo community here, so I'm really glad to be here. But this presentation is a tribute to our very hardworking philanthropist, Prince, and who's celebrating the 50th birthday. We wish him well, and I do hope that he will find time to attend my own birthday in 2 months' time. I will be 70 in 2 months' time. So I do hope that he will have a time to come in. I think it's just fitting for us to just wish him happy birthday. So let's all stand up and sing happy birthday to him before we continue. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. We don't need to ask him how old he is now, but we know that he's blessed. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Thank you very much. Let's sit down and then we go ahead. I have my coordinates. I don't want to waste the time because it's after 10 o'clock, and just in case. So my coordinates are there. I will leave a copy of the presentation with our guys there. So if you want to make any contact with me, you can do that. But I will always be in this community as often as I can. This presentation is also, it has what we call the Creative Commons license, meaning you can copy it, you can use it as much as possible. All you need to do is to say you got it from so place. I believe there are journalists in our midst, and so I will start with a story about the journalist and God. A journalist had a dream with God. And so God asked him, so you would like to interview me? And the journalist said, if you have time. And God smiled. And the reason being that he says, my time is eternity. What questions do you have in mind to ask me? And typically, Nigerian journalists, they have a way of asking questions that will put you off, but he didn't put God off. And he says, what surprises you most about Nigerians? That's the question the journalist put to God. And God answered. And he says, again, the answer to what surprises God most about Nigerians, he said, that by thinking anxiously about the future, they forget the present, such that they live in neither the present nor the future. And actually what's going around in this country tells you exactly what is happening here. We just anxiously think about the future. Everybody is talking about it, but we forget about making the present workable for people. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what the Prince is trying to do for this community. We're going to answer the last part of it later on in one of the slides, where we now see how the answer that was given to the journalist has come to pass. But talking about Nigeria, talking about our problems, is that we have a lot of obstacles to development. And yet, Goldman Sachs ranks Nigeria as one of the N11 countries with a very great potential. But why can't we turn those potentials to positive end? The answer was even given to us by the federal government in one of the documents. And it says, history of economic stagnation, declining welfare and social instability for the past 10 years has been identified as one of the obstacles to development. And in spite of our resources and endowment, potential for growth and our visioning have not been sustained. And we do hope that this will be done. I'll just take off this. Those are my things. But it was Nelson Mandela that talked about education as being the most important or powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And no country can really develop unless its citizens are educated. And again, that's what the Prince is trying to tell us today. Nobody in our community here can really develop unless all the citizens in Ondo community are educated. And that's, again, his motive. That is, I'm sure he will say it at other times, but from my understanding, that is his gift to the Ondo community as his birthday gift. And I think that is something I've not seen anywhere else in this country. And I'll talk about one other reason why that has happened. Education and development go hand in hand. If you show me, as they say, if you show me who your friends are, I know who you are. So if you show me the level of development of a particular country, of a continent, I will know the level of their education. And that's exactly what's happening in this country. There's a lot of illiteracy, a lot of poverty, a lot of low development indices. They have roots in low-level education. And the obvious characteristics of Nigeria tells us that. We changed the education system at one time. When I was in the school, we did 7 years in the primary school, and some of us, of course, you have to put your hand across to be allowed to go to school. And therefore, we went to standard whatever and all. We kept on changing the education system. We had the 6, then we had the 6-3-3-4, now, which has now become 9 and something. So actually, it's more like changing telephone numbers and not changing your phone. So that's what seems to be happening. We're just changing numbers. We're not really doing what is happening. And that's part of the problem with our education. We changed the system. We have that. Please ignore that we now have 196 universities, and we are still having more. Nigeria needs more, because with 200 million people, 96 universities cannot cope. Indeed, it's going to come a time when almost every local government would be due for a university for one reason or the other. But the illiteracy and its price is what we seem to be paying for in Africa and in this country. You can see, when I used to tour around Africa, I take pictures of people. Look at that car. This was in North Africa when I went for some. And look at all they piled up on top of the car. So if the booth cannot take it, why not put it on top? That's an element of illiteracy. I'll show you another one. This one, they were going for elections in East Africa when I just got in there. They were supposed to be going to vote. And can you see where they ended? The reason is because they had too many people in the vehicle, in the hillocks, and the hillocks just decided to end his race there. So nobody could go anywhere. This is an index of illiteracy. I'll show you another one. This was in Ghana. I lived in Ghana for about 2 years when I was doing some job. And this guy was supposed to take some sand to somewhere else for some work. We were supposed to do, but you can see what he did. He overloaded it, and the tipper tipped backwards. And he could no more get to where he was going. That's another index of illiteracy. And the last one is this one. Now, can you see that? I think it was in Nigeria or somewhere I went. This guy was carrying his gero or whatever to the market, and he decided to overload the system. He was hurrying up to get to the market to make all the money, but see what has happened to him. These are indices, and there are so many that we can talk about, even around. There are indices of illiteracy, even amongst us. And I can tell you one that I experienced. When I was Secretary to Government in Kogi State, I traveled to Abuja, and they said I had to come back and fill a form. And they called me from my office and said, your form was not properly filled. And I said, what happened? So I came back, and I saw it. And when they said name, I wrote my name. Olubemi Rojegede is my name. And the guy said, you did not put your title. I said, you are an illiterate. Because that form did not say title and name. It just says my name. I was not born with a title. So you can imagine that illiterate guy had to bring me all the way back from Abuja to Lokoja after 2.5 hours, and for me to go back again. We all display this illiteracy thing all over the country. When I came back to, I used to live in Australia for about 10, 15 years. When I came back once, and I had to drive through my driving license. You know, the driving license we used to carry in Nigeria is this big pali we used to have in those days. I don't remember if you know that, but we now have this small, tiny one, and that was what we had in Australia. So when I came in with that driving license, and they stopped me along the road, and I gave it to the policeman checking along the road, he turned it upside down. And I said, hey, my friend, you turned my, he was bent on dealing with me, I guess. And then I told him, you turned my ID card upside down, my driving license upside down. So when he saw that he was being embarrassed, he said, I better take this in and go away, get out of my sight. And that was how I was able to run away. So we have things like that, a lot of illiteracy, and that is what we're trying to kill. And with illiteracy, these are the kind of things that happen. Human history becomes more and more a race between education and catastrophe. If we don't teach people a lot of things, there will be catastrophe. And human insecurity comes in different forms. The most basic are illiteracy and innumeracy. Only the well-educated will be able to act effectively in this age we are in and that we are getting into. And the goals of the 21st century are all there. We need to be multi-skilled. We need to be multitasked. And that's what our children even do it better than us now. Most of us, adults, anybody age 40 and above, cannot use more than 20, 30% of all the facilities in his telephone. Am I right? But the majority of those who can use almost 100% of the facilities are people like that and people like that, the younger ones. They know what to do. So these days, we are getting to the point when the children are even more informed than the parents. And so if you get into trouble, talk about this. And so we are going into an era where we have to teach people through a non-conventional way, which is called distance learning or open education, which I will come to. And these are some of the characteristics. I don't want to bore you with all this. I just want to go into the main thing that we'll be talking about. But that's what distance learning means. It's a separation of the learner from the person teaching. So indeed, if you were inside the room and you were listening to me, that is distance learning. Without seeing me, we are separated. But because you are here, this is face-to-face. And this is a normal, formal schooling system that we all know about. And their characteristics, I've already talked about it. So, but it is cost efficient because it's independent of time, location, pace, and space. And that's the kind of thing we are trying to, the celebrant is trying to do for us here. We are in the era of open learning. Open learning is about flexibility. Flexibility of access to instruction in order to ensure broad availability of educational opportunities to everybody. It is access to instruction, access to anything you want to do. Indeed, everybody in Ondo can go to school, can go to university. Doesn't matter what qualification you have. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your previous level of academic achievement. There shouldn't be any barrier at all to go to school. So you can actually go to school from your bedroom these days. You can go to school from your shop. You can go to school from your farm. You can go to school from anywhere you are, even in your car. All you need to do is to get connected, one way or the other, to where the knowledge is being sent to you. And you can get a degree, you can get a certificate. I believe there are event managers in this hall. I also believe that outside there are those wanting to be event managers or something like that. There are those who have nail whatever it is. You can actually go to school to do that. Many of those who are doing event management in this country have never really gone to school to get a certificate on event management. Many of them picked it up one way or the other. But a few of them may have gone to school somewhere abroad and had it. We have reached a system where we can formalize this. The person who is an event manager here, who is here, does not need to be taught anymore. All he wants is to brush himself up and to get a certificate. So if we have an open university in Ondo here, all we need is to give an access to such a person to come in and hone his talents, and within 2-3 months, we give the person a certificate. What the person wants is to put the certificate in front of his shop or whatever it is to say, I have gone to the Open University of Ondo Community, and this is my certificate. Anybody can do anything. I mean, I can't teach the vulcanizer any physics about energy, air, or whatever than he already knows. Because he knows it better than you do. All he wants is to be organized, to be systematized, to go through a system where he can get a certificate and say, we have now taught you the best way to be a vulcanizer. And that is what the world is going into. The university is going to town now. And so the town and gown are meeting. And we must make sure that we provide all those opportunities for people. There are a lot of factors that shape open learning. One of them I'll be talking about is the use of technology. And technology can move from your phone to the big systems that you have, to the computer, to the wireless, to the internet, to Wi-Fi, to whatever we have. And so for all of us here, everybody that's got a phone and you have data in it, you can actually study without getting into the four walls of a classroom. All you need to do is to get connected to whoever is giving you that knowledge or that piece of information, and you start going to school. And you can actually go to school. Assuming the university is across the road there, you can actually stay here and take your degree from the university across the road without you getting in there. Because you can do everything. You can do your registration online. You can do your matriculation online. You can do your exams online. You can do your graduation online. You can do everything online. You don't have to get there. And that is the beauty of what the kind of world we are going into now. Actually, open and distance learning, for those who are interested in history, started in 1728 when people like Caleb and others taught shorthand through distance. They were posting their courses to students, and students were answering, and they were teaching them shorthand. And it now developed from correspondence to distance learning to online to technology enhanced to ODL and to virtual learning. Many of those who actually developed us in this country in those days did not have the benefit of a formal face-to-face schooling system. Many of them had to do open education, or what was called correspondence education then. And we still have some of them living today. The great Afe Babalola never went to the university, never went to school. He studied at home. And there he is today. He's a legal luminary, he's got a university, he's got so many things, and he's done everything to people. So many people did that with distance learning that were quite a number of our ministers in those days, even the prime minister and all that, went through open and distance learning. And as was mentioned, President Obasanjo went through open system and started from the diploma, higher diploma, and went through to do a master's and went through to do a PhD, all at the National Open University of Nigeria. His first exam papers, believe it or not, were marked in Damaturu. He didn't know that. I didn't know that until when the exams were marked. And they were scoring, they were looking at it, and then I saw, when they brought it to my office, I saw the name. Olusegun Obasanjo, he was a student, and he did it. He did so well. In fact, his first exam, which he took in Abeokuta, he was there talking like, a primary 9 child. They were just discussing, and he was talking about education. So nobody is too old to learn. Nobody is too developed to learn. All of us should begin to think about it. Even our national policy on education has talked about it. It was revised several times, and it's talked about 2 major philosophical principles and national goals. And one is that education is the most important instrument of change in any society, and that any fundamental change in the intellectual and social outlook of any society must be preceded by educational, you called it, I didn't. I don't want to call it and then somebody will grab me. You know what it happens, so I'm not doing, well, if you like, I will just whisper it. That says revolution. We have demographic issues in this country, even in Africa, where we are multiplying. Africa is now about 1.something billion, and very soon it's going to be much more than that. Nigeria, we are 200 million people. We are told that in another 30 years' time, we are going to be almost 400 million people. We'll virtually be standing over each other, whatever it is. So face-to-face will no more be what we are doing. And that will cause rising enrollment. Even with 196 universities, we can only cater for about 1.5 million students. Because when you talk about carrying capacity, for those of us in the university, when you say carrying capacity, it means how many people can this room efficiently take. And once it's beyond that, you can no more take anybody in. So you stop the admission. It's not because people are not there. It's not because people don't have the money to pay. It's not because you don't have the resources, but it's because we cannot take more people than this room can take for obvious reasons. That's what they call carrying capacity. But with distance learning, with open university, there is no carrying capacity at all because you don't count it. Everybody, you study from your home. In fact, if you like, you can take your computer to the field of the university and link up with the Wi-Fi in the university, and you are busy, walking away. So everybody is able to go to school. Everybody, like it or not. And in fact, not just, for mothers here or parents who care about child training, how come that our babies, our children, are more obedient to, what do you call this in televisions, the cartoons that they watch? How come they are more obedient to you? To the cartoons than to you? It's because that cartoon catches their fancy, their attention. So really, when they say we can learn from the labor room to the grave, that's exactly what it means. we can actually devise education for the children, for the babies, right from the time, and they will be so attentive to it that you don't have to be there. And they will continue to change the channel. They will get themselves educated. Well, I was just going to show you the JAM figures, but what we have, and I'll rush through, is that we have a system where every year about 1.5, 1 point something million people take JAM exams, and only 15, 20% are admitted. Again, the carrying capacity. There's no need for that. Everybody can go to school. Although if you ask me, I have my own private view about exams. There's no need for exams. And that's where the world is going now. You don't need exams at all. Exams don't tell your best system. I mean, that's why you have first-class people don't get the best jobs. Because as one of my friends used to say when I was at the university, the late Dr. Bala Usman, he says that what you have as education is what is left in your brain when everything you crammed is gone away. That's the only thing about education. And yet our system at the moment is just making you cram. You cram, you go and drop it, and that's the end. I once spoke to my niece who finished, SSS something, and she said, you did biology? She said, yes, because I'm a biologist. And I said, what is photosynthesis? And I said, well, actually, I did it. I said, no, that's nonsense. And you did an exam, you read biology? You can't. All you did was to cram it. And that is the way things are. But government has also told us in the national policy that policies which were to be directed towards ensuring that there are equal and adequate educational opportunities at all levels must be there. We must make lifelong education the basis for the nation's economy. And that after primary education, an individual will be able to choose between full-time studies, combining work with studies, alternative mode of learning. So that's just what we're trying to do, and that's what we're talking about. And that's what's leading us to this open education. And I will now go on to, just with this, I will go on to what exactly we're talking about. The world is moving towards open education for all. No one should be left behind. No one, no matter your age, no matter your ability, no matter your height, no matter your weight, whatever it is, nobody should be left behind. In fact, no matter your monetary possession. No one should be left behind. No one should be ignored. No one should be uncared for educationally. So in open education, we are talking about three things now. Open access. Everybody has an access to come in. Just like this place is open. Nobody is being stopped from coming in. That's open access. You can come in anytime you like. And then open learning. You just learn whatever you want to learn at any particular time. In fact, we are getting to a system where students are now determining what they want to learn, not what we want to teach them. Before you go to school, they will tell you what you must learn, physics, chemistry, biology, whatever, and all these things. These days, those things don't help you anymore. Because you don't go outside this building and you start saying, I can see biology, I can see physics, I can see chemistry. You don't. You see an interaction of all these things everywhere, all the time. And so you can pick whatever you want to learn. And that is what the system is going on to. And that's why you're having new things being developed in the world. And that's why you are now having people going on to the moon. And that's why very, very soon, in 15 years' time or 20 years' time, your children will be inviting you to come and spend your holiday in the moon or celebrate your birthday somewhere in the moon, no more on Earth. And things are moving. And we need to move along with that. And so the open access is what the 21st century is trying to talk about. And that is what the Prince is trying to give to our community, open access to education. And that's why open and distance learning is being used for anything, everything all over the world. In fact, they are using it to train pilots, they are using it to train doctors, they are using it to train engineers all over the place. And you must learn it. When I was at the, I'm still there, but when I started the National Open University of Nigeria, I had a bit of a problem with the powers that be. I was making sure we invited all the nurses to come back to school and get certificated and learn. And we had matrons and all that are going to retire in 6 months or whatever. They just want the certificate. They want to learn. And what did I hear from authority? No, you can't take them because they are O-level. It's not up to, I say, O-level? This person has been a matron for several years. He has been a nurse for how many years? 40 years. You say you are talking about his O-level? So I was so mad and I was rude, very, very rude to the executive secretary of the National Universities Commission then, who actually happened to be 1 year my senior at the Federal Government College, Warri. So he's just senior. You can't say that. You can't do that. So I asked him a question. I said, sir, if you are taken to the hospital right now on an emergency, and somebody is going to give you an intravenous or whatever injection, will you say, wait first, nurse, do you have O-level biology? Do you have O-level chemistry or physics before you give me injection? Will you do that? Nobody does that. Or when you get onto a plane, do you wait and talk to the pilot and say, do you have O-level physics before you fly this plane? Nobody does that. So these days, you allow people to grow according to their need, according to their levels. And that's what we should begin to look at. And so you have several dimensions of learning. You can learn at the adult one, formal learning, informal, non-formal. You can learn at home. You can learn in school. You can learn at work. You can learn in retirement and all that. And that will lead us to what we call a learning society. And the world has moved on to the learning society. So what is the future for us here, particularly in the Ondo community? The future is that knowledge is now the commodity. Nobody sells anything more, except in Nigeria where we keep selling everything. It's knowledge that the world is selling. Singapore was selling a lot of knowledge to the world indirectly that we didn't know. All the oil, most of the oil from all parts of the world were being taken to Singapore to be refined. Singapore had no drop of oil at all. But they were selling that knowledge of refining, and then we will go and buy again, and they will sell it to us double that price. So the world is talking about the knowledge that you have, nothing more. So don't kid yourself. I had a friend from the US who visited me, and I took him around the country. And when he was sending a message to some of his friends in the US, in Florida, he says, look, this guy has taken me all over Nigeria. Do you know what? Everybody is selling. Everywhere is a shop. But who is buying? That was his own idea. He was just wondering. Everywhere. I mean, if you go to town, every place is a shop. But who is buying? You don't need a shop if you have the knowledge to sell. All you know is to sit in your house. I mean, I'm not saying that's what we should be doing. I'm using a very bad example of the Yahoo boys. It's because of the knowledge they are using. They just need a computer. They need a small, they can even say in the toilet. If only Nigeria can convert all that knowledge into something useful, this country will have gone further than what we are talking about. So it is knowledge that you need. In those days, our parents who were farmers had the knowledge of when to plant, when to harvest, when to do whatever, all that. This is the knowledge of what they had the best of times. And yet, we are not looking at it. Everybody wants to get rich immediately, and nobody wants so what is knowledge? Knowledge is starting from data and getting to wisdom. But some people stop at information, other people just stop at knowledge. Apparently, in the country today, we are only stopping at information. Nobody is talking about getting wise. And that's why other countries are getting better and wiser. That's why China has gotten wiser. That's why even Singapore has gotten wiser. 5 years ago, I gave a lecture in Singapore. And I told them that for the future, there will be no exams anymore. And only last year, I went back to Singapore, and one of my friends took me to the ministry and said, come and listen. I got there, and they said, we have canceled examinations in the primary school. We have canceled exams in the secondary school, all because of what you told us. And we are learning. They will soon cancel exams in universities. You don't need them anymore. It is your proficiency. It's your skills that you have. Why will I come to you and say, I'm a driver, I can drive, I can drive? The only way I can prove to you is for you to give me a car and say, drive it from point A to point B. If you come to me and you say you want a job, I will just put a computer and say, do you know anything about word processing? Do you know about Excel? I will just put this in front of you and say, create for me an Excel account. Once you can do it, you are gone. In fact, many industries, many of these big companies in the world, no more recruit graduates. They're not interested in graduates. They just want anybody that will come in and they start teaching them skills from the beginning to the end. It is skills that we are talking about. And that is what the Open University of Ondo is going to give us. And even for those of you who are Christians, even the Bible has told us something about knowledge. If all you can do is go and pray and do all that, you do vigil. It's not night vigil, it is vigil, because you keep vigil the night. So people call it night vigil, but it is vigil actually. Anyway, if you can do all this, and you pray around, and you do whatever, and you can knock your head, why can't you talk about knowledge? Why do you neglect other parts of the Bible that are even more important to you? You know this story? You know the story of Solomon? Solomon, the son of David, when he took people to the mountain to pray, and because he offered 1,000 burnt offerings to God, God appeared to him in the night, in his sleep. And he said, he woke him up, Solomon, ask for anything you want. And what did he ask for? He just said, give me, Lord, you know the people you gave me. You're giving me people, they are populating the whole world. They are so plenty. I don't even know how to treat them, how to govern them. Father, give me knowledge and wisdom. That's all. I mean, if I was the one asking God, the only time, the opportunity, of course I would ask him to give me the whole world. But Solomon didn't do that. And God said, because you did not ask for anything else apart from knowledge and wisdom, I will give you much more. I will give you wealth, I will give you treasure, I will give you fame. And he said he will make him the most famous and the richest of all the kings before and after him. Nobody will be as rich as him anymore. So why can't we? I mean, we already have it. So why can't we be asking God by knowledge? When you go to pray tonight or in the morning, ask God to just give you wisdom. 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 Because the most difficult thing to do is to manage human beings. So if you, even your own family, you can manage that family. You need that wisdom to manage your wife or manage your boyfriend or manage whatever they are. And it's all politics, even in the family, because you have to play a little bit with your children, with that. It's all, so ask God for knowledge and a bit of wisdom on it. It becomes the icing on the cake. If you have these two, you don't need anything else. Because if you have the knowledge of everything, then you have already passed all the exams. And if you have the wisdom, you know how to manipulate it, then the world is your oyster. So we are talking about lifelong education now, and lifelong learning is now lifelong, life-wide, and learning all the time. And I already mentioned about going from cradle to the grave. That's what learning is all about. At the Open University of Hong Kong, I had a student. The student was 87. And he came to get his second PhD. And so during the convocation, they asked him, how come at 87 you are still reading? You've come for a second PhD. He said, yeah, you know why? This second PhD, I want to learn it more so that I'll be able to tell the undertakers the best way to nail my coffin. I mean, he was being abstract, but he's just saying that knowledge doesn't stop anywhere. You just keep learning to your grave. And that's what lifelong learning is all about. And that's what we all need to do. So the guiding principle for this learning is flexibility, innovation, partnership, reliability, security, and citizen participation in learning communities. Now, mark this sentence, citizen participation in learning communities, because I'm going to talk about it in the next. There are inevitable things about development, and I don't want to waste time on that. But what has become our dressing code now in the world is inevitability of instability in education system. Continuous disruption will come on. Teaching and learning will continue to be redefined, and learners will take increasing control of their learning. And if that is the case, now what about Ondo? I mentioned the unmet demands at Ondo. From what I read, we have a population of about 500,000. Probably more than that, because overnight some people are still making babies. So we're going to have one more. But even with that, we have more than 20 secondary schools around us. And we still cannot cope with the demand of people wanting to go to school. We have universities, at least 5 of them all around us. And those universities are even not tailored towards the 21st century. So actually, believe it or not, I don't want to criticize because I'm still in the university. I'm emeritus professor. Maybe if I say anything bad now, they may not open the gate for me tomorrow when I go. But let me tell you, most of the universities, most of what you teach in universities are dated. Well, we call it data in Australia, but we say are old. Everything are obsolete. Everything we are teaching today is obsolete. Everything, even what I'm saying now, is everything. I mean, other things have overtaken it. As we are talking now, people are working in the laboratory. People are working in other places. So all you go to the class to teach your students is all null and void. You are just repeating the old system. And the students don't know anything better. All you do is, take the notes. If I took the notes I used to teach my students 40 years ago in Biology 101, the idea is that I will go to the class, I will just put the notes on the table, and I will be talking away. I will never refer to that book. He only crammed this for the past 40 years. That's what he's been repeating. So he doesn't even know anything. Or at least the book will say, there's nothing like Akuko. He didn't know anything. And that has been our problem. How many professors review their notes? How many professors, once being promoted a professor, go to do anything better? Nothing. In fact, as soon as you get to a professor, as they say, you remove the ladder because you don't want other people to come close to that. And yet, our professors these days don't even know what they are professing about. And we have problems. I had chances of assessing some people to be professors. I just wrote in the last line, I said, I'm sorry, Vice Chancellor, I don't think I have the time, the resources there to do this because this is far below what a senior lecturer should be. And I sent it back to them. But here, we need, the Ondo community requires a suitable type of learning environment to meet current needs. And what are the needs? Nigeria needs a different type of higher institution to suit the 21st century. They must be skill-based, align the development of skills within the community. The university must use to the maximum benefit of the community. The university, is used to the maximum benefit of the community. And the community should be part of that university. In fact, the community should help run the university. I like to fly a kite here. Who says that a professor must be a vice chancellor? There's no reason. It's just because of the system. Because nobody was born, nobody got into the university as an assistant lecturer and with the forehead written, vice chancellor. We all picked it. In fact, they will pick you because you are a best researcher. Because you are a best, you publish a lot, you've done that. But not because you even have that leadership quality or whatever it is. So, what stops us from setting up a university? Bringing all the professors we can, because what they should do is to teach. And then get somebody in the society, probably the president of the Ondo Youth Council, to be the vice chancellor. All he does is administration. All he does is to ask people, what do you need? How do we do that? I hope I'm not going to be quoted tomorrow in the papers that Professor Jegede says we should take off all the vice chancellors. I'm just saying that the system needs to be rejigged. We need to begin to look at other systems. What do we do? Let's get the best person for the best system. And in these days, most of our vice chancellors are local government vice chancellors. Every local government, if the university is there, you say it must come from that local government. It's not the best. So we have destroyed meritocracy in our university system. And that is what the open system is trying to bring back. And that is what Prince Adeba is trying to bring back into our community. And I think that demands some clap for him, I suppose. So that is the need, or those are the needs. But I'm getting close now. What is the promise? We've talked about the need. What is the promise? And I'll read very slowly here so that you get it. Our prince has promised, as one of his 50th birthday gift towards the development of Ondo Town, a community-based open university. It will be the first of its kind in Nigeria and in Africa. I'm not saying this to impress him or anybody. I have been in the open university system for long. I've started open universities. The National Open University of Nigeria that I started 2003 now has 650,000 students. So I know what I'm talking about. We don't yet have a community-based open university. And the first one that is going to be established in Nigeria and in Africa is the one that our brother and our princess, he must bring to Ondo community. Another promise is that it will be run by the Ondo community. So you're not going to have people outside anywhere coming to run the university for you. You will run it yourself. It's your business. And you must make it work. So you'll be part of all this system. We're going to bring as many Ondo indigenous professors in the US, in the UK, whatever, they can come back. We need them. But don't come back wanting to be vice chancellor or whatever. Come back and help the community. Come back and teach. Come back and put back into the system what the system gave you. In those days, I still remember that in those days, some communities would gather money together, right, and send their best child, whatever, to London to go and learn. Then he will come back and start a school or do that. Several communities have been were doing that in this country. Now, a lot of our children have gone abroad. They should come back now and help. We can have ways of their coming. They don't have to. The world is now a big place. The world is very difficult for you to ask any of your children in the US to come back and be living here for no particular reason than that the system is so chaotic. But we can work it in such a way that their leave time during the summer vacation or during whatever time, we can bring them back in to do some teaching and go back. They can be adjunct professors, that is professor here, professor there. And so it is possible for us to do that. It is possible for everything to be completely indigenous-based on Durham, but get the best from anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. If you have the best professor in entrepreneurship, you can bring him here. Now, the issue I want to now underline is that even with technology, you don't have to have anybody here. It is possible that right now, as I am talking to you, this is taken at part of course 101 in open and distance learning. It is possible that this, what I'm saying, is being beamed to students in Malaysia, in India, in South Africa, in Brazil, all at the same time. Same time. So I don't have to be in Brazil to give the lecture. And COVID has taught us a lot of things these days, that you can work from home. You can learn from home. You can do everything from home. You can even do it from your bedroom, if you like. And for those who are adults, you can say you want to do something for 10 minutes, just give me a minute, and you rush back again. You can do anything you want. So this is what the modern day education, this is a promise. And that it will offer programs and courses to everyone, that's underlined, everybody. And it will be accessible to all. Never mind about the language. If it's only Yoruba you know how to speak, the course materials will be translated into Yoruba for you. If it is Nupe you know how to speak, we'll change it to that. If it's Elijah you know how to speak, we'll do everything for you. So that is what the system is all about. That is the new craze in education. Take education to where the learner is. Don't take the learner to where the education is. That is what the open education is saying. That is what Prince is telling us. He's bringing it right to where the learner is. And depending on your cooperation, because it is your university, you are the ones that are going to run it. If you work very well, it could start operating within a year. And the reason is simple. The open university does not need all the structures that former universities need. You don't need all the big buildings. You just need a very functional IT section. a very functional course material section, and that's about it. And so it is possible, I'm just thinking about it, that if you want to start this, I'm sure there are other indigents, whether they are here or listening everywhere, can help Prince Adebayo in this. You can say, okay, if that is the case, my great-grandfather's house that is wasting away and nobody is there, why don't you come and use that as faculty of engineering or something like that? Or why can't you come and use my father's farmland somewhere? I'm ready to change it and it becomes a faculty of agriculture. So it's possible that each person can donate certain things there, and within a year, he can put all these things together, and you have your open university, community-based open university. And because it belongs to your community, and by the way, by extension, I want to make myself, whether I like it or not, an Ondo person now. So I will come and study. So we can all put our hands together and make sure that we get this university working. And I talked about skill-based. Ondo town is not new to skills. Do you know that? And I'll just tell you a few. You know, the first Anglican mission all around this place started a church, and that was the St. Stephen's at Okealuku. Am I right? And that started in 1875. And in 1875, a year or two after that, they started a primary school. Thereafter, the community started the first community secondary school in Nigeria, the first community secondary school in Nigeria, Ondo Boys High School, in 1919. All this provided the basis of skill development in Ondo. So, something just struck me now. The first community secondary school in Nigeria was started here in 1919, the first in Nigeria. So, and if we start, actually it's not if, when we start this university here, it will also be the first community-based open university in the whole of this country. So, Ondo will be there be doing the first again, the second time. So, the functional education received in all these schools gave us education about cocoa, about rubber farming, and there was a shift, therefore, in a measure of cash crop farming in Nigeria. We still have those skills. We shouldn't throw them away. Ondo also let their communities, their members, to trade with Europeans in those days in what was called Etiodo, that is close to the, the river and the other. They were all got the river area adjoining Ondo and Ogun State. So they were going there. And of course, they also became interpreters for foreign merchants. So we have it in the system. So there's no reason why we cannot capitalize on that. And so now we have the foundation of skills-based programs already. The skills-based community open university, like I said, already has many things in its favor. One is that Ondo has an excellent environment for internal and external investment. You already have it around. Two, it is rich in agricultural resources and so we can establish agricultural industries here. I don't see why. I mean, we have a lot of yam, and they were pounding yam there just a few hours ago, and I said, if I was still younger, I would have been eating that pounded yam, but at my age, I shouldn't try. But I haven't seen yam flakes. I've seen potato flakes in the shops. So why can't we develop that and it becomes, yam flakes, and you sell it like potato flakes or whatever they call it, or cassava flakes, they will be just as good as any of these flakes that you have, whether it's plantain flakes or whatever it is. That's another industry for anybody who wants to start it. And that, all you need is to come to the Ondo Community-Based Open University and learn a little bit about how to do that. The agric engineering department will teach you the basics of how to operate the machine to produce the flakes for you. So you can actually turn so many things that we have, into a business. It is also close to bitumen deposit. There's a lot of bitumen deposit around us here. So that can also start a lot of industries for the young ones. So there is a proposal to start a seaport and free trade zone between Ondo and Ogun State, from what I'm told. If that is the case, that is another foundation for the skill-based programs that we think we should have. Well, I've talked a lot about technology, so I don't want to waste your time. I just want to conclude. I'm shocked that nobody is asleep. In fact, I'm shocked that I'm not asleep myself. But anyway, this is what we are talking about. Vision, vision, vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And thank God that we have a 50-year-old young man, a birthday boy, who has decided that he has the vision to lead us in this community. And we just have to follow the leader, the visionary. We must move on so that we don't perish. We must pay attention to details when we start the university. Technology is there, the learning communities, redefining instruction, emergence of learning analytics, etc., etc. We must be talking about the 21st century world. What happens in the 21st century world? Because there is unrivaled demand for education. And so we must move with what everybody is talking about. You must give everybody what they want. There's no reason why, in the formal system, they will ask, if they give all of us admissions, they will want all of us to come and register within a week or something like that, isn't it? And then they will matriculate all of us at the same time. Things have to change. And so we start the semester at the same time. No. In an open university system, your semester begins the very day you register, not anybody else. So they will tell you that if you register as an individual, you study for the next 17 weeks, you come and take exams. So it's different from the next person. So you don't have to wait for anybody to be matriculated. You can just go up and they'll give you a virtual matriculation. All these things are possible. It's no more the old system that we're used to. Of course, the 21st century way of life, we must look at it. We must embark on knowledge generation. And there must be emphasis on research and initiatives in what we'll be doing. And learning in the 21st century, let me just mention a few things now, because that's what we are trying to do right now. By the year 2025, that is in a few years, over 60% of learners will study through the open system. But by the year 2050, we are told that 75% of those studying by the open system will be between 18 and 25 years. When I was in Hong Kong, we did some research. Everybody thought that the open university was meant for the older people, you work and learn. But at one stage, I still remember that in 1999 or so, we did some research and found that a lot of students between the ages of 18 to 25 are now studying through the open system. And why? Because of the flexibility of time, because of access. But that's not all. For us in Nigeria, I can give you one reason. Because when I went to school, during my time, when I was in the secondary school, that was the first time I wore a pair of trousers in my life anyway, and that must have happened to people of my age at that time. The school was better than the home. Am I right? For some of us who did that. Honorable Minister, you were not at that. Yeah. You see, because at the school, it will be a government secondary school, it will be a boarding school, you have all the uniform, you have breakfast, you have lunch, you have dinner. In school, everything was there for you. You didn't have it in the home then. And so when you go home, it's not just holiday to relate to people. Immediately you want to go back to school. But this time, it's the reverse. The home is better than the school. The children crowd in the school for 8 of them in a room or whatever it is. But in your home, your child has got his own room. At the worst, he will share with one other person. If he wants anything to eat, he goes straight to the fridge. If he wants to listen to the music, it is there. If he wants to talk to the other person in the other side of the world, he has it. If he wants to watch CNN, everything is there. They're not in the school. So the home is better than the school, and therefore we should be talking about open system, open education, that the home can also provide a support for such a learner. There must be massive use of cutting-edge technologies in instruction. Just don't worry. He's exploring the open space. Just leave it. It's not, look, he will learn. Oh my God. Nigerian mothers. Anyway, I can understand that. But all what we are saying have raised lots of questions by the dreamer. You remember the dreamer who interviewed God when I started this? Did you remember that? That a journalist interviewed God in his dream? Now, all those questions have now come. And it is that, the answer is that as we think anxiously about the future, we must learn from our past and use it as springboard for purposeful living. That's the answer that I think the journalist got from God. Education includes an appreciation of the future, and something significant for the community is done. Otherwise, we live neither in the present nor for the future. So the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is that a skills-based, community-run, open university has come to Ondos. It's the first of its kind, again, as I say, in Nigeria and Africa. It is the newest kid on the education block. And I don't know how I can say it many more times. This is to be established by the Prince. So, Prince, thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of the birthday celebration, and I'm sure tomorrow will be fantastic. You'll be asking yourself, okay, 1 minute, 1 day, has anything changed? Not yet. It will change when you start that university, because the whole world will come to learn about not just your philanthropy, but your vision and the fact that you want us to have knowledge and wisdom. Thank you very much. Pardon me? Yes, you can. Do you need a microphone? Please have it.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We sincerely apologize for being late. On behalf of Blueprint Global Group and our chairman, we just flew in from Washington, D.C. and New York and came straight here from a 4 or 5 hour drive from Lagos. So we came late, but we came with great intentions, and this program is so exciting. And we really thank our chairman, Chairman Adewale, for having us here. This is beyond exciting. I myself am an educator. I am known as Dr. Kai Dele, and I am also Nigerian. So from the diasporan perspective, the diaspora, they're so ready to get involved to push the educational efforts of Nigeria. Most importantly, Nigerians have branded themselves as one of the most educated countrymen all over the world. And in the US, Nigeria, I think the statistics came out, we are the most progressive, entrepreneurial, and educated in the US. So Chairman Adewale is very, very well known and very, very engaged with the diaspora. So one of our commitments is to make sure we get the diasporans engaged, become the bridge and the funnel through this Open University platform to bring them, because they're just looking for a system that they can believe in, and we're all from here. We're not afraid, we just need a funnel and a bridge. So we thank our chairman for that. And we're also partnered with the HSBCUs, which is Historical Black Colleges. I am one of the graduates. So we have all those HSBCUs, probably over 53 in the US, that would love to engage and partner with this program with our chairman. I want to encourage Nigerians that we have a great brand when it comes to education abroad. And sometimes you need someone to come back and tell you, we are indeed the best when it comes to education. These initiatives will definitely, overwhelmingly be successful, and we are excited to be here. We apologize for our tardiness. Happy birthday, Mr. Chairman. We're here to build this Open University model. We thank you so much. God bless you all.
I'm sorry we broke protocol here because the chairman is supposed to say that, but because this is an open system, you did not break any protocol. So I'll now hand over to the chairman to say one or two things and then to...
Thank you very much, Kai. I didn't have time to welcome you. These are my colleagues from Blueprint Global Group. We're in Washington, D.C. I'm the chairman of the company, and we serve many communities all over the world. So I'm very gratified that very busy executives like Fred, like Shalewa, like Dr. Kai could fly across the continent for my birthday. I thank you immensely. Now, usually there should be questions. I see many people shaking their heads. I see someone who got very annoyed when you said first class means nothing, because Dr. Uba had first class in political science and has not allowed anybody to rest for the past 50 years. So when you said the whole thing is nonsense, and he looked at me and said, what do we do now? I said, well, that's it. So, and I saw a cousin of mine who got mostly D and E. So, well, thank God for that. You know, but so when question comes, Dr. Obinta was in my school in those days, and he wasn't such a good student, but he's a fantastic professor now. So I don't know what happened. You know, so maybe it was the open system or whatever happened that got him there. So I believe people will have questions. So I know your time is well spent and fast spent, and because of the kings and queens and all these people who came to me earlier, the time we should have done the seminar I had today, I've interviewed about 15 kings and queens from various communities. So, and they were disrupting what we were doing, but our culture in Yoruba land is that when the traditional ruler enters a place, you have to pay attention. But do you have time, Prof, for some questions? And serious disagreements from this. You know, Minister Dalum, before he became a minister, was teaching. And his students were taking his notes. And he's proud of those notes. I'm sure he has them at home. So he's thinking now, if this is obsolete, what is he going to do? So I think there are a lot of questions. So it's open. Let me start from here because your first class is under threat. Yes.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm quite impressed by this lecture. I think that's what we need in this country now. Because most of us, when you sit and reflect about what is happening and where we are going, you keep wondering, how are we going to get out of this mess? You know. So I'm glad that my friend is thinking about establishing something like this. And I'm sure once the Ondo Community Open University takes off, other people will want to and emulate and get it going around the whole country. So I thank you very much, and I thank him. This is a very, very impressive lecture. And I think you may give it in a more bigger forum. I wish that more Ondo people were here. The online, okay, beautiful, to see what is happening, you know. The other aspect is the issue of first class, and until we abolish the universities, I think having a first class is still important. But I also know, as you correctly said, that that does not determine who will be a successful entrepreneur or whatever. Because I know most of the students we went to school with, we know where they are now. They didn't make first class, but they're making waves all over the place. So the important thing, when I went back to university, after I left the Senate and went back to teach at the University of Abuja, I used to tell my students that, you know, anything you cannot relate, that is, after you listen to the lecture, and you cannot explain it to any other person, you have learned nothing. You have learned nothing. If you cannot go out, by the time you sit in the class, and tomorrow you are called off, say, what, you know, I can't explain it unless you go back to look at your note. You can't learn anything. And I used to tell them also that if you don't come to class, I take attendance. In all my classes, I take attendance. And the reason for the attendance is that if you constantly come to class, it means that you must have learned something. So when you don't do too well, by coming to class, then you get a subsidy to take you to a particular level. So what you said is correct. When students cram, once they leave the classroom and you engage them on that subject matter, they cannot explain it. So I used to tell them, anything you can't explain after you leave the class, then you have not learned anything. So I thank you very much for the lecture. And the celebrant is a very wonderful person. I've known him for almost 20 years now. It's a relationship that has gone for so long. And I'm much older than him. But since I knew him, we've been like brothers. He's a listener. If somebody you can relate with, you can discuss anything with, he has a lot of ideas. So he's the type of people you want to be around. Because you said, show me your friends, I will tell you who you are. So, Undo community, you have a very wonderful son. Wale has a lot of ideas, and I pray that you will have the opportunity to put those ideas into action. He's already doing that, and I think he will do more. So thank you for your lecture. Thank you for those of us who are gathered to listen to it. Personally, let me say that I gained a lot because I didn't quite know much about Open University. Those days I used to say those who go to Open University are those who couldn't get into conventional university. Why will you go to Open University? You go to a conventional if you know you are smart. Get admission and go in, right? But now I know that it doesn't mean you don't have to be. It doesn't mean that you are not smart. If you go to Open, it means that you are managing your time better. So thank you, and I wish everybody here, and I know we all enjoyed the lecture. Thank you very much.
Well, let me begin by commending the guest lecturer. For doing justice to the topic and the review. I'm somebody who naturally is a very critical human being. And I criticize everything, including criticizing myself. But this night, I'm having a lot of difficulties because I've tried to pigeonhole all what he said. And I tried to find loopholes and criticize, but I'm for now yet been unable to get any. This is because there is consensus and confluencing of ideas over everything he said about education. Without being here, I'm somebody who believes that our educational system is fundamentally faulty. And I think one of the greatest issues, is ego of the average Nigerian personality, which is massaged by that system. We're a society where everybody carries his little pride like a bag. So we need a system that creates the enabling environment for us to express our ego. But I don't think we learn much in the conventional school system. I don't think so. That's why in my community, I respect the knowledge of local people more than those who goes to school. Because when I sit with them, I find more wisdom in their analysis of issues and solution to questions than those who went to school. In fact, my carnival, which I used to organize annually, I decided that by next year, the chairman of the occasion and all the special guests will not be anybody who has gone to school. But rather, I'm going to bring the local people, the farmers who have made great contribution in agriculture, our skilled men and women who had contributed to the development of our economy, and give them responsibilities to sit at the high table instead of glorifying the same recycled set of people we refer to as leaders who had refused or they consciously refused to move this country to the next level. What interests me much in the concept of this community-based open university is that when my friend, because Wole is different things with different people. He's a chairman in the other side. He's a brother to this side. He's a friend. And he's a different person. So to me, he's a friend and a brother. When he mentioned to me that he was thinking of establishing a university, I unconsciously told him that I don't believe that he should establish a university, a conventional university, that will follow the pattern of other universities. But that because of the rich cultural heritage of the people of Ondo and their contribution to the development of Nigerian civilization, I am of the candid opinion that the university should have faculty, on Ondo history, Ondo economy, agriculture, Ondo arts, so that we can be able to now develop a community education around the rich heritage of the people of Ondo and try to now put it before the public space. I didn't know that we were all thinking alike. Just for me to discover here that he had decided, to try to exhume the history of Ondo people and their civilization and place it appropriately. I believe that most Ondo people, young Ondo people, might not know the history of Ondo very well. But those of us who had ventured into history and tried to study the Ondo Kingdom. Ondo Kingdom is, one of the sovereign entities that had contributed so much to the development of the concept of the Nigerian civilization. And indeed, Nigerian history remains incomplete if you do not go back to try to evaluate and assess the role of the Ondo Kingdom. But sadly, Nigeria is a very funny country where everybody given the opportunity tells the history of his mother's bedroom against the reality. And I think this university will offer a very good opportunity for the young people. I've also learned here that, you don't need the conventional system to be able to assess and evaluate knowledge, which is correct and perfect. I have been an advocate of the fact that examination is not the true test of knowledge. And that was why when I was a lecturer in the university, I did emphasize the issue of using examination, attending lectures, scripts, note-taking as the best way of evaluating my students. Rather, I personally try to assess their capacity, and in assessing them, I end up with my judgment in that way. So I think the young people here, have a responsibility, to try to mobilize themselves, because the lecture is online, it has been streamed all over the world. So those who are connected will actually be with us. But the point is, the capacity to now mobilize so that we can key into this great idea. The last thing about Nigeria is we talk about digital civilization, but we don't have the digital infrastructure. We don't. And that is a major challenge. While in government, I kept contesting ideas of those who always talk about, digital civilization, we should go digital. I said, yes, we are not against going digital, but how do we go digital without the digital infrastructure? Like in my very local government, there are only 2 places where you can have data services. So if government is saying we are going to recruit people using, digital technology, how do you recruit people from my local government? Where there are only 2 places you can have services. Sometimes you need to climb the anthills to be able to access the services. And we are hypocritically preaching the issue of digital civilization. I think that's one thing we need to do to take Nigerians along. If we are going digital, we must saturate the entire Nigerian landscape with the digital infrastructure so that nobody is left behind. But it shouldn't be a question of, because you are privileged in Abuja and Lagos, and you can access the digital infrastructure, then you stand at that threshold to begin to argue and represent majority of Nigerians who knew next to nothing about even what you are talking. So I will want to conclude by asking my friend that, you see, there is this argument that he who must come to equity will have to come with clean hands. So now that you are taking us to equity, you have to provide the water for us to wash our hands so that we go there clean. Meaning that this community-based university must have an established digital infrastructure so that everybody in Ondo community can be able to access it from the confine of his farm, his room in the village, or everywhere. Lest we will be behaving like what my friend Dr. Uba said, the ostrich mentality, which is common with the phenomenon of the Nigerian leadership personality. So you must defeat the ostrich mentality and make sure that everybody benefit. For the young people, you have a leader. I find it difficult to talk about Wole, but all I know is that if we can have somebody like Wole in the right position in this country, the day he arrives there, Nigerians will know that this country is going to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I want to also join the others to appreciate Prof for coming around to enlighten us this evening. I cannot agree with you more on those submissions. In fact, he was more or less pronouncing fatwa on the conventional education. And he wasn't doing that alone. It was unknown to him, merely articulating the views of the frustrated academics, of which I'm one, in the orthodox education system in Nigeria that is no longer working. By September of this year, September 1, I will have been teaching for 20 years in the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, where I took all my degrees, BA, MPhil, PhD. And the system we met, myself and the celebrant, is no longer on ground. Nothing is working. But the issue we have, and the issue it was raising, which is conventional, vocational education over and above inapplicable book learning that we are doing. We're just regurgitating worn-out ideas. Ideas no longer in keeping with contemporary hard facts and realities. But because we are working in a straitjacket system, we cannot change it. Even the government that is overseeing it, they too knew, they still know that it's no longer working. You remember about a month or two ago, government they are trying to sign into law a legislation bridging the gap between degree holders and HND holders. What are they saying? They are saying that the inferiority complex created by vocationally educated individuals who are not recognized equally with their book learning counterparts has created a lot of emotional malaise in the population. Somebody, because I have HND, I'm discriminated against in the place of work, I'm not equally paid for the same job and all of that. People are not struggling to get paper qualification at all costs, even when the paper is irrelevant. And one other thing, yeah, he said so many things. I came with my note. I'm a conference person. I attend conferences. I go around East Africa, US, anywhere. I've attended conferences, and that's the only place I learn. And as I was coming, I came with my note. I wrote so many, but I'm happy because it's online. I'll download it first thing tomorrow morning and keep it in and keep it for use. So the point simply is this: what we have just had in this local gathering, though it beamed online, but it's still for local audience like ours. We want this spoken in high places. Those in power must hear this with a view to getting them to tinker with the current curriculum that we have. It's not working. So some of my students, before I forget, I just remember the first class thing now. That concept of first class is under threat presently. Last year alone, many private universities are competing over one another. Who will produce the highest number of first class? Some say 200 first class, 300 first class. These first class guys are next to idiots when you interact with them personally. The first class is on paper, not in intellect. My student that I train myself, that has 2-2, I have more respect for them. Because what I do is this, like what Prof rightly said, that education is what remains in you when what you have put here is gone. In my university, we have a slang for it. We call it la crème la pour. It's just borrowing from French. La crème la pour and la forget after the exam. After the exam, just bring them, take the paper, drop it, begin to engage them one-on-one, asking them questions point by point. They will remember nothing. What are we talking about? So all these private universities, they are the ones that have started the race. And unfortunately, many conventional universities are already beginning to join in the fad, i.e., applauding themselves for producing highest number of first class. But this is not true. Those guys are in business. They just want to promote their businesses so that many people come and enroll. But the truth of the matter is that they lower the standard. Before we came, first class was 4.1. The year myself and Wale finished from IFE, it was increased to 4.5, that it is presently. We were the first set to use 4.5. Those who graduated a year before us had 4.1 as first class. You remember? It was the year we graduated that it was increased to 4.50. But few people were able to make it. I didn't make first. I had 2.1. He has 2. But how we articulate issues, express ourselves, stand our ground, move with logic. Many people could not do it. So the focus should be on substance, on quality, on ability of our students to stand out there and make their point known and make their contribution meaningfully. So I'm not among the group of those who applaud those who have first class in these new generation universities. But for established university, yes, we may not have more than 1 in a whole faculty. 2, the fewer the first class, the more we respect the guys, because they will prove it. Look at the lady that finished from OAU, that the Ogun State governor gave. You remember that lady? Look at her, when they interviewed her, look at her reading. She read 17 hours per day. 17 hours, consistent. And just dropped she wasn't holding any paper. Look at, she was a medical student, but very few colleagues of mine from English language could stand her grammar. She would speak articulately. She would just everything. That's the kind of thing. First class is to be celebrated, but it should not be trivialized like people are doing it now. And the whole thing began with private universities competing among one another for who should have more first class at the expense of scholarship, at the expense of thoroughness, and at the expense of standard. So what Prof is talking about is that vocational education should be given its pride of place, because Nigeria is in a mess presently. We need artisans, we need mechanics, we need technicians who can fix things. Not somebody, a graduate of a mechanical engineering, traveling in the vehicle with his dad. The vehicle broke down somewhere along the way. They brought the young man to come and demonstrate his skill. He opened the bonnet. He was mentioning carburetor, mentioning other time. He couldn't do anything until they went and brought a local mechanic to come and fix the car. And the man said, my investment is a waste. It was. It was. So by the time we have this university as the launch pad, I will gladly come and be part of it. And many of my colleagues are going to do so too. So we will be able to reorientate our younger generation on the need to put skill to use in concrete practical terms, and not having papers, first degree, master's degree, PhD, but we don't know nothing about addressing human needs. Education is to help us deploy knowledge to solve our problem and make progress. That's education. So anything different from that is not education. It's another thing. So what Prof has done, as he was talking, I was whispering to my friend that this university we're talking about, because I've known him on paper. I've known him at open universities. The name rings bell, but I've not seen him. So immediately I saw him in the afternoon, I said, are you the prof? And I came with my notes, and I've written much. And I believe we are still going to have opportunity to interact some more. But what he has done, and even the few that are here today, tell others that we are stepping into a new era whereby knowledge will be made to be practically useful to us. Because what we are teaching people now, they can't use it. And that's why I compensate my students. When I teach them, they don't struggle they don't miss my class. I don't use public address system. They don't make noise in my class because I address issues without sentiments. And when it's time for exam, if I'm given like 6 topics, I will add 5 that I know is useful to them, but if you have the opportunity. Like I taught the course last year, Introduction to Economic History. I'm a historian. This course is open-ended. You know what I did? I just taught them economic history 40%. I taught them entrepreneurship 60%. Once you finish this from this university, you must not go and write, I beg to apply. You must be able to think a skill through and make it useful. You'll be employers of labor. That's the way I taught them. When we were about to do exam, I said, Oga, any AOC? I said, yes. Choose any, I taught you 12 topics. I'm going to ask you 6 questions. Choose any 6 area and tell me about it. They told me about it. I said, you have it. I set my question from those areas. When they saw the thing, they were writing like, those who came to invigilate exam with me, they were looking at them. So what are they writing? I said, what they were taught. They read on their own. They just got to those 6 areas, downloaded materials, the one I gave them, bought books, did anything. They were writing like, some write 2 papers, bind it together. There were not very many, but when they finished, more than half of them scored A's. They got it. I don't give people free marks. I will make you work your finger to the bones, and you will know it. After exam, take their paper away from them. Ask them questions. They will engage you strength with strength because they were taught thoroughly in classrooms. That's what I believe in. So if they have 2-1, I have more respect for them. 2-2, they will be able to demonstrate themselves more than all these promo first classes we have all over the places. So, Prof, what you have started will queue behind you, and what he is going to do, it will happen here, and it will succeed. Because many people are thinking about it, but we are not empowered to make it happen. But since there's an opening now, it will start, and it will continue, and it will succeed. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Moderator.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Prof, mine is just a question. I think a lot of people have made a lot of contribution. I just wanted to ask, when you said the recycled kind of lectures we've had over the years, I do agree. But don't you also agree that those recycled lectures that were being given by most of our lecturers form the basics for future learning? Because I want to believe that if we don't have those particular background, like a leaf, you can define a leaf. A chair, you can define a chair. And if you think probably those ones are recycled lecture, wouldn't they have formed the basics for future added value? I also agree totally that the research that we have been done over the years has not proven something different. Most of the research that most scholars do are just piled up in one corner of the university, and they are not being exploited or probably put into practice. At the end of it all, you will see it being burned or just being carried at garbage. And mostly what you prompt your students to do is to kind of do a lot of research that you can add to the body of knowledge, and if it can be applicable to present-day life. But unfortunately, most of what we do, and I can blame the university for something like that. And while I want to agree totally that some of our professors, many of them have benefited from lecturers in the past, but they have not been able to put most of the things that they learn into practice or applying them into our basic industries. And I want to agree totally also with regard to the talent-based education. That's what I want to call it. I want a young lady who happened to be studying something different from what she is actually talented to do. So probably if we could diversify in that particular area of the Ondo community-based virtual education, will be in the area of talent-based education. Simply means that if I'm good in the craftsmanship, that will be my area of study. If I'm good in oratory, that will be my area of study. If I'm a good mechanic or something that I learn in creativity, that will be my area of study. I think those can be added into some of the departments in which you want to create. Naturally, I've always been said that Barrister Adewale Adebayo is an individual. When you look at him, you don't even want to know that, you want to believe that he is the same person that you are seeing in front of you because of what he has in his brain. And I think that must have been some of the things that led to him to start creating something different, thinking out of the box. And I will want to encourage most of our university, or probably leaders who believe in education, to start thinking along this line. If a community can be thinking of having a university based within this community, that means that a lot can be achieved along the 774 local government that we have in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that will have added value to our educational system, and it will be made easy. So for his wonderful thinking and thoughts, he has again proven that he has a lot that he can share with the Nigerian people, and comfort and succor will be brought into our educational system rather than we going through the most difficult way of studying. I know Nigerians have been treacherously been subdued into a learning process that is unbelievable and uncomparable to any part of the world. And that's why we excel so much around the whole world, because the way we study is quite different from the way it's been made easy abroad. And probably it could have been good for us, but then the world has gone more digital. So if we can just adapt to some of this talent-based study, it could add so much value to what you are trying to give to the Ondo people and probably to the rest of Nigeria. I thank you for listening. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ade Alabi is my name, and greetings to everyone on the seat and the high table, and happy birthday to the celebrant. Two things, sir. Number one, there was these challenges with myself and my colleagues those days from 32 years ago while we were preparing to enter higher institutions. Maybe as for the sake of emphasis, I would love to know what will happen to the struggle of requirements when it comes to the requirement to enter university. Is it going to be applicable to this or not? Number two, when I hear good things, what always gives me full joy is when I also hear, in addition, the challenges that is attached to it. Please, we have heard the good part of this lecture, but I will implore you, sir, to kindly give us like 2 or 3 challenges that can confront this particular. One of it, I think, the Honorable Minister said something about the digitalizing of infrastructure. I know that's one of it. I still know that there are there could be more. So we want you to please give us maybe one or two more challenges that could confront it. Then, I think lastly, I've been hearing of Ondo-based community, Ondo-based. Are we saying my community from Kwara State, they cannot benefit from such? If yes, how? Thank you.
Hi, thank you everyone. My name is Evelyn Dan Eppelle. I lead the Library Content and Broadcast Department at Kaftan TV. I consider myself a lifelong NELA as well because I have completed a bachelor's degree in engineering. I've completed a master's degree in communications. I'm chasing a PhD in communications. Education is very important to me, and this is very exciting, really. But when I think about it, based on the experience that I have, two things I'm very concerned about. The first one is, when you talk about an open university, there's a kind of discipline that's required for this mode of learning. While I was at Georgetown for my master's degree, something unique happened, which is that the pandemic broke out, and so we had to switch to a different mode of learning, online learning. It's called instructional continuity. And the biggest challenge then switched to become, is this really a very successful mode of learning? Because it was quite new to a lot of us. Some of us were confined at home for a year, learning online. And I have to tell you, it takes a lot of discipline to actually, number one, remember that your lecture is at 12 noon, and sit down, set up your laptop, and even motivate yourself to get up without that environment of the university. Things like the library, for example, moved online. The library environment is designed to support your learning, to help you read, to make you comfortable to learn. And you have people learning from home. Personally, the biggest problem I had learning inside of my house is that I'm trying to focus on a lecture. I can smell a goosey soup before you know what's going on. I just blank out from what's going on. So there's a lot of discipline that's required. How do we plan to cultivate that level of discipline at community level? The second one is something unique happened after I finished my master's program and returned to Nigeria. Everyone who saw me didn't welcome me. People kept asking me if I was crazy and what I was doing in Nigeria, because literally every young person in Nigeria wants to leave this country. And leaving this country is mostly about education. We have nearly 80,000 young Nigerians leave this country every year to go study. And quite honestly, it's not necessarily to go study. People just really want to leave. When it comes to the psychology, how do you plan to convince young Nigerians, particularly those at community level? Since I got to Ondo, most of the questions I've been getting is, hey, you went to Georgetown, how can I go to America? A lot of people, I would want to know what the psychology, how do you plan to attend to that psychology of people to make them understand that what you're offering them is at par with what's obtainable in, the diaspora?
Allow me to interrupt and acknowledge the presence of Chief Kanu Agabi, Commander of the Order of the Niger, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Nigeria long-term Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation. Thank you.
Sorry, please. I made a comment earlier on, but this time I want to ask some clarification. Recently, I was listening to CNN, and I heard them saying that what do you call it? Teaching in a classroom setting, in a formal setting, that they discovered that had greater impact than the visual learning because of the COVID. That was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So how do we relate to that? That came up, based on what she was saying. I don't remember that I listened to that discussion. That parents will prefer that their children go back to formal learning, yes.
I can take, yeah, okay. Thank you very much for the questions. And Your Lordship, you're welcome. And we thank you for finding time and the energy to still be with us at this time of, okay, it's the night, not morning. I was going to say this time of the morning, sir. Thank you so much for coming in. I love the interactions, and that's why I said I came here for a discussion. Well, I mean, I think more of conversation than anything else. I don't know where to start except to say that, you see, when you tell people, or let me reverse it. In some cultures I've visited, when I was in Ghana, before a girl goes to the husband's house, they will sit the girl down and talk about that culture, what they have, and the respect. And they often tell them, they said, if you go to your husband's house and you tell them that your people are doormats, they will help you match those the mats so well that they will become nothing. Honestly, I am a believer in Nigeria. We have a lot here, much better than anywhere else. We just don't realize it. I have been everywhere. I've lived in Australia. I've lived in anywhere in the Pacific. I've been in China. I've been in Hong Kong. I've been everywhere. I've been in the UK. So, but when you come back home and that smell of egusi comes in, you know you can never get it anywhere, even if it's prepared in New York. There's a lot in Nigeria. We just don't know how to make things happen. Our problem is leadership. That's all. Once we can get the leadership right, everything will go on well. In Ghana, they will tell me that big brother, well, they say, you people, once you can get it right in Nigeria, all of us will follow the line. That's the problem with us. We just don't know where to go. And we need to find another way of leading the country. And the only way, or one way that we know, is to make education work for everybody. Once education can work for everybody, then you don't have to be deceived by anybody else. You can question. You can ask people things. You can ask a politician who comes in and give you a bag of rice for 4 years. You can ask other questions and say, what else? You know, and this I started as a baseline. The second thing I want to mention in relation to some of this that have been mentioned is that I have, in those days, I was telling my students to think, not to think inside the box. You ask them to think outside the box. I have reached a level when I now tell my students that I don't believe in the box anymore. I like you to think as if there is no box. And once you don't limit that student that way, he can do anything. And that's where the issue of innovation will come in. And that's where the issue of creativity comes in. And so you bring it back into the system. So it's not a question of when I finish this my course, what am I going to be doing? No, it is that what am I taking into the classroom to add value to others to make sure I can go back to the society and do it better? You don't go to the classroom to learn other things except to sharpen your skills. What stops you from taking a degree and still learning how to, something about laundry or whatever it is? And then when you get back, that's what you are doing. Or something about bread making or be useful to yourself first and to the society. Once you can do that, you don't have any problem at all. You can be anywhere. I have now seen situations where, in the University of Abuja, I was once a dean, I think 1990 something, I was a dean of education there. But I've now seen a situation where students go to learn mechanics, go to learn other things. Well, tailoring, they now call it fashion something, whatever design. But that's all they're doing. And many of them now leave their job. They don't do that course anymore. They don't practice with the degree. They go and make more money in fashion design, in whatever. And that's, some of us here can relate to that. Maybe apart from our Lordship, who went through that line and became that. Many of us have got PhD in something, masters in something, and you're not using them anymore. I mean, I have a PhD in science education. I can't remember when I looked at that thesis. I did my thesis, PhD thesis 81. It's useless. I'm not talking to you about the PhD in 81 now, am I? So you go through the system and learn a lot about whatever is going on. So this issue of whether, and somebody has a question, or whether the notes we use, and they helping us, no, they don't. Because the lecturer or the professor isn't learning anything new. If you're a biologist, have you gone to Google to check on the latest development in research? If you are somebody in languages or whatever it is, have you taught our children that it is not Google, it is Google? I mean, so these are issues we should pick up. And that's why I always said in education, both the community and the university, they just, again, that's something I don't say, we no more talk about being on the same page. The community and the university should be on the same paragraph. Otherwise, you missed it completely. What do you do with the Open University here, whether somebody in Kwara can benefit from it? I mean, I'm from Kogi State, so Kwara is not too different. But the emphasis is open. So because it's open, anybody, anywhere in the world can access it. You can learn through it and get whatever you need out of the system. So it's open. Although it's based here, owned by the community, it is open to the world. And that's why I'm so pleased that my sister from the diaspora is saying the minds of all diasporans. I mean, I was one encouraging people to come back. And I'm glad that I've encouraged so many, a number of them that came from Australia are now vice chancellors of certain universities, and they've done that. So you just, home is home. Home is home. There's nothing, I don't know how to say it better because I have experienced it. You can speak the accent from here till tomorrow. In the end, they will tell you, aren't you black in it? I mean, it's the same. Yeah, you go back to they will tell you that. And I've experienced it. I experienced it in Hong Kong. I was supposed to go representing the Commonwealth to run a workshop. I was the head of that unit. I was to be picked up at 10 a.m. They didn't pick me until 5 p.m. until somebody came from the UK, a white man came and saw me and said, "You have not been picked up yet?" I said, "No." And then he got the Chinese up and was to pick me. And the guy asked me the question 3 times. And I almost wept. He said, the first question, "Are you the man from Hong Kong?" And I said, "Yes." Then he asked me the question again, "Are you the man from Hong Kong?" Huh? I said, "Yes." I was getting annoyed. Then the 3rd time he asked it, it's like, oh, he said, "Are you the man from Hong Kong?" And I said, "Oh, are you the black person who came from a Chinese environment to come and teach us in Singapore?" That's what he was trying to say. So we need, it is the attitude. It's just our attitude. We can change the system. We can make it better. And we have just been told that the Nigerians in the US or whatever are doing even better than the people who are there. And they are ready to come back and change this system. Why don't we make it, give them the environment? When I first came, when Professor Obasanjo brought me kicking and screaming, one of my colleagues in the university asked me the question, "I hope you've got your ticket to go back." The reason is I said I'll be frustrated, and I was frustrated. A lot of things will happen. People said it will never happen. Open University, which can't it be this? And that comes back to what you were saying. It is the attitude. What will make the university sad? What will be the obstacle? One obstacle is that even ourselves who don't believe in it, If you don't believe in it, then the whole thing is gone. There will be no respect. I mean, like he was saying, people used to think that when you study by correspondence, it's because you couldn't get admission into. And yet those ones are better than those who did it face to face. There's a current person, Professor Obaya, Pai Obaya of Ibadan. He went through distance learning and all that. He's still a professor. And he's one of the best you can find in curriculum development. So they are there. And I think we just need to psych ourselves up. You know, when you are going to play football, they spend it out. Basketball, they spend the time trying to psych you up. It's not that you don't know it, but to make you do it better. I think that's the sort of thing we need. And we can achieve. We can do it. Digitally, yes, we have a problem. We definitely have a problem in this country. When I came into this country some years ago to start the Open University, I wrote a paper to the government, and I said, you have to do a number of things. 1, Open University. 2, Open Polytechnic. 3, Open School. And 4, you must make sure that the technology is pervasive. And that we should start from the local government, not from the state headquarters. If we had done it, we would not have had a problem with COVID. Because when COVID came, all of a sudden, we just discovered that people have to teach online. People have to do. No, people are not prepared for it. Many of our people are not prepared for it. Many of our professors are not prepared for it. The ministries are not prepared for it. They don't know it. So that's what happened. And if we had done it, things would have been different. And we need to make it different. Now, why do we think we also need to change the system? I think somebody says, happy birthday, we must sing that again in the next minute. It's 12 already. So I think we better sing the happy birthday again. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us, and so say all of us, and so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. Thank you. Hooray. 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 Thank you very much. I think I better allow him say something right on the dot. Thank you.
Sorry, that's Nigerian Police Force. Sorry, it's we need to warn you ahead. It's the Commissioner of Police on those states who wanted to give 21 gun salute. Okay. With the authority of the Inspector General of Police from Abuja. Yes, thank you. So don't be startled about it. Thank you. Thank you. That trumpet, no worries. Just get used to it. 21 eventually. Thankfully, it's not a 50-gun salute. Yes. That trumpet has been in the palace for 500 years. Yes, I'm not saying those who are stealing art to run after the guy, but yeah, you know, it's the royal drum and part of the royal accompaniment, and you can only blow it with the authority of the king. And it's been in the family for 500 years. So I thank the Ondo community for bringing that to this occasion. Prof, you see the danger of Open University now. They can interrupt you with the gun salute. They can interrupt you with a trumpet, and then forget about the goosey soup and all of that. Yes. But I thank you all for the time spent. I know the questions will continue. Professor has been around for a long time. He doesn't even live in this city. He lives he's staying in Akure for the time being. And he just lost his mother. That's a perfect excuse not to come here. But he's still here. And he's the technical advisor of this university. He's not talking something theoretical. I believe I intend that having spent this number of hours here, I should get a credit from the university for this lecture. So the earlier we set up, the better. So the university should be on in a few months. I will have the endowment fund for it. And I thank you all for the wonderful display of good wishes. My last birthday before now was when I was 16 years old, organized by my grandmother. And when I was 17, I told her, please stop embarrassing me. I don't need this thing anymore. So I've had like, should I say 36-year gap. So if I'm not used to it, please, I do apologize. Prof, thank you very much. If there's any other question, I think we should go online. The link is live. You can make comments. Because it's a university that is continuous, and we are part of it, we will have chance to make more contributions. Many people have flown from all over the world, and they have not been able to settle in. So we need to do that. And then, traditionally, we have other duties. I need to go to the palace, because the foremost Yoruba king, Jalafe Foyo, is coming tomorrow. So I need to assist the king to host him, and he's coming with many kings. And we will be at the center tomorrow, and so many other people are in. And but I will allow us to close with Chief Kanagabi, giving us the benefit of his experience. Chief.
Prof, how are you? Thank you very much. Wale, happy birthday. I didn't know this was going on. And thank God I looked at my phone and found that Wale had sent a message saying that this was going on. So I dressed up and came, and thank God that I did. Wale, you are 50 years old now. I'm 75. At 50 years, you have done so much. You have done things that I can't even dream of at 50. So you can imagine what you are going to do when you are 75. And yet, I can see that you are going to live beyond 100. I thank God that I came here because it challenges me. There's no room for resting. Forgive me if I'm taking time, but the story is told of a certain philosopher. His name was Zusi. Some people call him Zusia. On his deathbed, he started crying. And his disciples went up to him and said, look, why are you crying? You are a philosopher, and we didn't expect you to cry on your deathbed. You ought to be happy that you are going finally. They said to him, are you afraid that when you go over to the other side, they are going to ask you why you did not live like Moses? And he said, no, that's not why I'm crying. I am crying because when I go over to the other side, they are going to ask me why I didn't realize myself. And what shall I say then? It is a question that challenges me as I come here and see the monuments that Wale has built. And this is not all. So I have to go back and pray for even more energy to carry on. We can't rest. We're a good nation. We're good people. Very hardworking. Very intelligent. Very patient. Very resilient. We are uncomplaining. We're good people. And we need not despair. We're doing well. We have people like the professor. And there are many such people. That is why the nation survives. And it will never perish. We have all sorts of problems now. But we must not despair. We are better off as we are. From east to west, from north to south. This is a good nation. Some people dismiss it as an artificial creation. All nations are artificial. There is not a single nation that the Lord created and threw down this earth. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most remarkable stories in the Bible is the story of the creation of one man, one woman, one world without boundaries. And you are that one man, you are that one woman, and he has given you dominion over the entire earth. So please, I'm happy to see here young people. Many of you will grow up and become our presidents, our ministers, our senators. And so this is a preparation for that day. You don't have to despair at all. We have hope. Wale, may the Lord bless you. The Lord has blessed you already, but may the Lord bless you 1,000 times even more. And I pray that a man like you should someday become president. Why not? Go on preaching this gospel that you are preaching. If I tell you that I am a Bekwara man, I'm sure many of you have never heard that word. But I'm a Bekwara man, and here I am, side by side with a Yoruba man. That's how it should be. We are one people. We love one another. There is no difference on account of religion or whatever, or ethnicity. God himself says, by whichever way you come to me is acceptable to me. We shouldn't fight because our religions are different. We shouldn't fight because our languages are different. We should concentrate on the things that unite us and not on the things that divide us. Wale, I feel 17. I don't even feel 50 anymore. Thank you for bringing me down to 17. I go back from here a new person. So I want to thank all of you who are here, Prof. I'm very grateful to you. Please, sometimes people cast aspersions on our educational system and they say that, look, the education we are offering to our young does not equip them for life, that we make them proud and distant and things like that. But the truth is, we're making progress. Rome was not built in a day. The reason why this nation has the problem it has is because following the creation of states, the nation was already having manpower problems when states were created in 1967. those manpower problems were compounded by the multiplication of offices. Many offices were created in the new states, and the needs that arose were met by appointing unqualified people into those offices. And that is the problem that we have had till now. Added to that, the fact that the elections are not transparent. So it's just a problem of leadership. We will get over it. Don't despair. Don't say, I'm a Yoruba person or a Hausa person or a Fulani. You are a child of God, and may the Lord bless you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. Tanko, can you help us with a closing remark?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to thank you on behalf of Barrister Adewale Adebayo for finding time to be with us this morning. We started last in the evening, and here we are. It's already in the early hours of today. Our very revered former Attorney General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His eminent lawyer, Barrister San Kano Agabi, for being with us with this your age, sir, golden age that it is, or diamond age, I will call it. Thank you very much. Honorable former Minister of Youth and Sport, Honorable Solomon Dalong, and then Senator Ugochukwu Umba, and our revered professor and friend of the family. And ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much, and we are hoping that you'll be able to catch some small sleep so that tomorrow or later today is the main event that will happen at the AME College of Education, where we expect a large mammoth crowd to continue to shower their love to our own Barrister Adewale Adebayo. So I want to say good morning to you, and then see you later, and thank you very much for being with us this morning.